going to be quite a lot of heart opening tonight. So I've been working with opening the front body, lots of back bending past couple of weeks. So if you have any niggles with your back, just come as far or as deep as feels okay for you. Don't push it if it doesn't feel right. You know your body, any sharpness, pins and needles, especially in yin, because you're slowly starting to open up those connective tissues deep in the body, and it can get quite delicate. So anything that doesn't feel right, please don't force the body, just come out. You want to be able to practice yoga for as long as possible, so we don't really want any injuries. Okay, I think that's most people. So let's start. You're just going to find your seat. Make sure you've got your props handy, blocks. Just close the eyes, connect to the breath. So I've spent quite a lot of this week teaching, reflecting on the situation that we're in at the moment. The last class I was talking about the bardo of becoming, it's the Buddhist term that I'll talk more about later, or liminality, this kind of pause that we're in at the moment before life gets started again. You know, we've had to say goodbye to our old life, to what was, and we're in this kind of middle point at the moment, this transitionary point. We're not quite sure, there's a lot of uncertainty around what the future looks like. So I thought we could talk about that again tonight. So just settling into your practice, eyes closed, shoulders soft. So yoga, in its most basic form, is about connection to our true self. In other words, self-realization, or I like to think of it as getting to know myself better. You know, who I really am beneath all that mental chatter. You know, and when I understand that, and then I'm able to make positive changes, you know, to improve that connection to myself, but also to others. So yoga really is it's a kind of selfless practice. It's devotional. It's about improving the way we interact with other people. And this yoga system that we practice, there's lots of different paths, lots of different approaches to yoga to help us reach this goal of connection. And one of them is known as karma yoga. And karma yoga is the yoga of action. And it means reaching this state of union, this connection to our true self, through right action. And it doesn't mean it has to be like, you know, the work that we do. It's just, you know, we choose every day to show up in the right way. So tonight's practice, you know, yin is a great way to find stillness, to find that space, that bardo, that liminality. So in those spacious points, those gaps, you know, we have time to connect to that right action, our true self. Because it's in those spacious points in our yoga practice where we can find that creativity, we connect to that intuition, that wisdom. When we're rushing and racing around and we're busy, we don't have time to really connect to that, our essence. So tonight's practice is around finding that connection, that stillness, and understanding what that right action is for us. I want us to do one round of arm before we start, and think of that arm as four parts. So it's R, the A, the U, the M, and the three parts that are as it comes from the belly, the ribs, up into the throat. They're the three parts, A, U, M. And then the fourth part, and for those of you that did it on Wednesday, there's the silence. So at the end of the exhale, when you finish the arm, you have a point of silence. And it's within that silence is where that magic happens. It's that space between two existences, between two breaths, where we're empty, where we're spacious, and where we're open to new possibilities. So I want us to kind of connect to those points of spaciousness to our practice tonight. So we're going to start with our arm. So let's take both hands to the heart center. Shoulders draw down the back. Let's take a slow, gentle breath into the belly, all the way up to the collarbones. And then exhale, just releasing it out with a sigh. Inhale, let's breathe it in. When you're ready, slowly ease yourself down onto your back, coming into supported bridge. If you can, keep the eyes closed, slowly transition there. If you're not quite sure how to come into supported bridge, you can just open for a moment, just have a look at where I am. You can use whatever props work for you. So you could use a blanket, a bolster. So if you're going to use a blanket or a bolster, just pop it underneath the sacrum. So you want to bring the soles of the feet underneath the knees. So just starting to open the back, lengthen through the heart center. If you have a block, you can choose whatever height you want it to come onto. So if you want to go a little bit deeper, come right up onto the feet and then place the block on the sacrum. So that fused bit of bone at the bottom of the spine, just make sure it's there, it's not any higher, not any lower. And then surrender, just let go, melt over the prop. So you should feel quite stable, quite comfortable. Maybe just take a scan of the body here, just notice if there's anywhere, any part where you're gripping, holding tension. And just see if you can relax and let go. Tuning into that stillness, that spaciousness. For anyone that's new to yin, we hold these poses for about 3 to 5 minutes. When we're in the poses, we just take a little bit of time to find the point of resistance that works for us. So I would say not come into the pose too deeply, but also don't come into it without enough resistance, because you want to find that point of resistance that will keep you focused, keep you aware, but not too deep that you're going to be far too caught up in what the mind's telling you, that it feels challenging, intense. Just make sure you're really connecting to what feels right for you, what you need from your practice, no ego. And then once you've arrived into that position, then you just focus the mind on the breath, you find stillness. You let go of muscular engagement, so you stop gripping the muscles and you allow the body to open up slowly and work deep into those connective tissues. And if you want to, you're welcome here to put the hands on the heart again. Hands can be wherever they feel comfortable, but if you feel like you just need a bit more connection, you might have had an intense week, you just want to feel some support around that space, feel free to take the hands there. Just notice if you're feeling any tension, any tightness around that heart space, and just see if you can soften with the exhale. We're going to have 5 more breaths here in bridge. When you're ready, just take the weight into the feet, just remove any props from underneath your back, and slowly ease yourself down onto the mat. You can bring the knees into the chest, give yourself a hug if that feels nice. Otherwise, just maybe take yourself into Shavasana and just allow the body to reset, recalibrate. Just feel like you're melting in towards the floor. Your toes or fingertips are relaxed. The skin on the face, the jaw, the tongue, the hairline, the follicles on the head. Just letting everything soften. Let's just take the hands underneath the backs of the knees. We come up into our toe stretch. So just be mindful, you can cross the legs and just draw yourself up, or you maybe want to rock up and down, but really take it slowly. We're in our yin practice, there's no need for rushing. Maybe just massage through the spine, and then when you're ready, come up. Find your tabletop position so the hands come forwards. And you're just going to tuck the toes in your tabletop. If you want all of the toes on both feet, even a little toe, pressing down into the floor. And then just bring the hips, down into the heels. And just inhale, draw the shoulders down the back. And just allow yourself to relax, tune into the breath. Just opening up all that fascia in between the feet. Just notice where the mind is tonight. How are you finding this so far? Is there a lot of noise in the head? Are you getting caught up in conversation, judgment, discussion? Like, what's going on? Just see if you can notice it, witness it, not get involved in it, and then just bring the awareness firmly back to the breath. So you're just watching the breath as it flows in and out through the nose. You're not changing it. So you're just watching it. You're using this time for your meditation practice. You could quite easily be in these poses and just be daydreaming, not really practicing. You just keep drawing the awareness back to the breath every time it wanders off. So 5 more breaths here. Then bring the hands forwards. You're just going to bring the toes down to the floor and then take the hips down to the heels and come into your ankle stretch. So the hands can come back. If you want to support yourself, maybe you want to play around with bringing the hands to the knees, maybe the hands come into prayer. So if it feels too painful, it feels too much, you just take it to what degree works for you. It might even just be sitting up like this is enough for you tonight. You're opening through the tops of the feet here. There's no need to put additional pressure. So you choose what works for you. See if you can think about lifting through that part a little bit. We're not going to be here forever. 5 more breaths here. And then slowly start to bring yourself back to tabletop. If you need to, you can just tap the tops of the feet on the floor, maybe wiggle the hips. Whatever you do, try and do it mindfully, with control. Alright, from your tabletop position, you're going to take that left foot and just slide it outside that left hand. Coming into lizard, so I would recommend just tucking the back toes and then just shuffling the back heel back, just so you're really open through that right hip flexor. You might want to take a cushion underneath that right knee as you release those back toes. You might just stay here tonight, just lifting through the heart. You might even bring a prop underneath the hands. Maybe you want to play with coming down onto the elbows. And as we're working towards our camel pose tonight, I want to open through these quads. So if you can, if you've got a strap, you can use a strap. If you can, bring weight into the right arm, and then bend that foot in towards you. Take hold of the toes of the back foot, open through the heart. So we're nicely opening through the heart, and we're also opening through that right quad. Remember, what is your edge? What's the point of resistance that you need tonight? So you choose the degree that works for you. Everyone's bodies are different. So just close the eyes, settle in. So we're currently living through one of the most extended periods of liminality in recent memory. You know, it's probably not that long in the grand scheme of life on Earth, but this period, this pause, the great pause as some people are calling it, is a truly transitional moment in history. You know, right now, whilst we're in this period of crises, we're forced to be with ourselves, you know, in a sort of, let's say, extended meditation. You know, it's a time where we've really got to be with our thoughts, our worries. We can't numb through being busy, we can't run away from them. You know, it's a time when we can be truly authentic. We can truly tune in to our needs. So liminality is the moment in between. It's that moment before the next event happens. And we don't usually get to live through such an extended period of liminality. You know, this time it does provide a huge opportunity. And liminal moments are those spaces, those pauses where we feel so much clarity. You know, we find focus. It's where magic arises. Like when you have your yoga practice and you feel that connection, those moments of ease, of peace, of freedom. You can think of those as liminal moments, as spacious moments. It's that time when things feel like they make sense, when life makes sense, and things become clear. And for many of us, that's why we practice yoga. And for many of us, our life before this transitionary place that we're in right now, you know, they were really hectic. You know, we didn't get time to stop, to think. We didn't get time with our loved ones at home. We were always preparing for the next thing. The pace of life was really hectic. It was crazy. And when life's like that, when it's really busy, when it's go, 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 you know, it all affects our creativity, our authenticity, our right action, our karma yoga. Because without that connection to our true self, how do we really understand what we need, what right action is? For this slower period of time, it's just giving us that space to start to gain that clarity, that awareness about what we truly need from life, what we truly want, what right action looks like for us. Just have a few more breaths on this side. Wherever you are, just start to ease yourself back onto your hands. And then just take that front foot back. Just find your tabletop position. So you could come down into child's pose if you want, just for a moment. Just take some mindful hip circles, just take them one way and then that other way. Easing off that tension. Just whatever movement, whatever creativity you need from the practice. What feels authentic to you right now? And then when you're ready, transitioning over onto the other side. So the right foot steps outside the right hand. Shuffle that back knee back. Find that space in the hip. And then lower the knee down, using any props that you need. Maybe just staying here, lifting through the heart. Maybe coming down. And just remembering, tuning into your authentic self. Where is right for you in the practice, in the body? No need to force it. Just allow it to be. Maybe you want to take hold of the toes of the back foot. Maybe you usually hide away from making the practice a bit more challenging for yourself. And maybe you need to do that tonight. And when it does feel challenging, rather than getting caught up in that noise in the head, just start to deepen the breath. Try and stay with it. So for many of us right now, this slower period of time, if we've been lucky enough to take things much slower, is seeing our creativity blossom. You know, yeah, there might have been some time of adjusting, and there's definitely been periods of anxiety and fear and challenge. But we've had so much more stillness, and in this stillness, we've been able to take that time to imagine the life that we want to create for ourselves. You know, for once we've actually had time just to be ourselves, to understand our passions, and what we'd like to do in a better way. You know, we can be authentic. You know, when we tune into our true self, we can ask ourselves questions like, how do we make our time worthwhile? How do we live from the heart rather than the ego? How do we be of service to others? How do we release judgment and show compassion? How do we choose right action? As we continue to move through this practice tonight, I want you to just connect to your authentic self, that heart center. You can be creative, you know, if you need a little bit more movement, if you need to go deeper, if you need to take it easier. It's just connection to what you need right now. Let's have 5 more breaths here. And then come back to your tabletop when you're ready and just take any movement that you need. We're all going to meet on our bellies in kind of a reverse shavasana. So we'll spend a minute or so there just to reset. So If you need to have some movement before you get there, feel free to do that. Just do what you need, just to ease the tension. And everyone will just meet down on their belly when they're ready. Just bring the hands underneath the forehead, just let the third eye rest down on the backs of the hands. You know, in this time that we're living in, we can easily get swept up in the thoughts, the worries, the fear, the what ifs. I know I definitely have this week, let it get a little bit on top of me. But like Herman Hesse says, within you there is a stillness and a sanctuary to which you can retreat to at any time and be yourself. You know, we're very privileged to have our yoga practice, the tools of our yoga practice to help us navigate this time, to find that sanctuary of stillness. And just as a reminder, really, when things do get a little bit overwhelming, you know, just get your mat out, take a hand to the heart, find the breath, maybe some movement. Just bring yourself back to the present moment. Just refocus the awareness, the attention. Alright, from here you're going to move yourself into Sphinx or into Seal. So your choice, if you normally, you know, just sit with Sphinx, maybe you want to try and be creative tonight, come up into Seal. So with Sphinx, you just take the elbows underneath the shoulders, but I like to just take them a little bit further forward. Just helps with the back, opening through the heart. Arms are shoulder distance apart. Eyes are closed, or gaze is soft. Maybe you stay here, or maybe you just open the hands out a little bit, and then press into the hands, open through the heart, and find your seal. So you choose what you need. And just keep the awareness, the attention on the breath, just watching that cycle of breath. Maybe the temperature of the breath on the upper lip, the qualities of the inhale, the exhale, the speed of the breath, the depth of the breath. Your whole attention with the breath. Just try and stay with it, try to stay with the breath, not with the thoughts. And it's not about pushing the thoughts away, it's just about refocusing your awareness. Just finding that spaciousness. So 5 more breaths here, staying with it. When you're ready, just ease yourself onto your belly. Just bring the hands underneath the eye again. Just maybe wiggle the hips from side to side. And then just find some stillness. Let that pelvis be heavy, belly soft. Okay, option now. If you know you're comfortable with saddle pose, we're going to move into saddle. If you have problems with your knees and saddle just doesn't work for you, you can come back into Sphinx or Seal because it's working to open the lower back. If you're okay or want to try saddle, I'd recommend it as it's quite a nice pose just to work towards our camel because you're opening up quads as well as the lower back. But maybe if actually you find saddle tricky, you could even come into your Sphinx with your arm across the top of the mat, and then just bring one foot in and then continue to the other side, just so you're opening the quad as well, but you're also opening through the heart. So this is a modified option for saddle, if that saddle feels too much. So for saddle, tabletop position. I'm going to bring the knees about hip distance, maybe a bit closer together. The heels come out to the side, and then you draw the hips, the sit bones down in between the feet. And just make sure the feet are grounded down into the floor. If your knees are screaming here, please don't force it. Just come back down to the modified version. Maybe you stay upright, maybe you come down to your elbows, maybe you use a bolster under the back, maybe you work yourself down. You can take the arms over the head if you want to open through the chest a little bit more. But then just let go, just see if you can surrender. Try not to grip too much. Maybe just take a moment to tune into the sounds around you. The temperature of the skin on the face. And just bring the awareness back to the breath. So life is made up of these liminal moments, these transitional moments, these glimpses. They're their space between two existences where magic arises, where anything is possible. It's that moment of stillness. And it's in that moment of stillness where that magic arises. And creativity, our understanding of what we need, gets hampered by our pace of life. You know, we find that we start to lose that connection to ourselves. We get so caught up in doing. And I know we're finding peaks in our stress at the moment and in our anxiety, but there's also a lot of peace at the moment. There's a lot of stillness. When we try to surrender, when we do surrender to the way that life is right now, it feels a whole lot easier. You know, we don't know what the future holds, and this transitionary, this liminal time, it's a time where we can just be. You know, You can try to surrender, not resist. And if you're in the modified variation on your belly, swap legs now. Otherwise, just stay where you are in your saddle. I know there's a lot of questioning going on right now about like what really truly makes us feel alive. And to do that, we have to be authentic, and to be authentic, we have to be vulnerable. Even in challenging times, you know, we can try to make things a little bit more harmonic. And we do that by just allowing ourselves to open up, allowing ourselves to surrender. You know, maybe use the mantra, I can, I can, I can. Things feel tough. And I know uncertainty is a common trigger for anxiety. You know, we easily get caught up in our thoughts, we identify with those thoughts, we invest in them, they become stronger, they take over. Our yoga practice just helps us to get out of that cycle of rumination. You know, it brings that sense of hope, even when things are difficult. It helps us make the most of this liminal moment, this transitionary time. So 5 more breaths wherever we are. When you're ready, you're going to ease yourself out of where you came and feet back into a tabletop position. Be really gentle with the body. And again, just take some really soft, slow hip circles. We're going to move into our camel now. I'll show you some different options. So just bring the weight into the knees, then bring the hips in line with the knees. Ankles are behind the backs of the knees. The knees are hip width apart, so try not to have them any wider than hip width, so keep them, so the hip width is that bony bit there, try and keep that in line with the knees. Okay, so option 1 is just to take the hands on the back, draw the elbows in towards each other. If it's too much having the fingers pointing out, you can just have the hands coming down, squeeze the elbows in, open through the heart. So really think about lengthening up from the chest. Don't worry about how far you bend into the back, but really think about lifting up. And then start to ease yourself back. Maybe you just stay here, maybe you just take it as far as you can. Maybe you want to come back down into your full camel. So press the hips forwards towards the knees. It doesn't have to be as intense as you would if you were doing it in our flow practice. But just make sure you're keeping that engagement in the thighs. Just take the head, so wherever feels right. You might feel comfortable letting it release back, maybe the chin to the chest. But keep breathing if you can, but I hope you can. Just keep that flow of breath. Sometimes we can just forget about the breath when we're in these more vulnerable heart-opening positions. And just notice if that voice in the head's creeping up. It probably is. Saying, I can't do this. Maybe change to the mantra, I can, I can, I can. Because you can do it. Just repeat that mantra over and over your head. Breathing as you do. Just have 5 more breaths here. It's quite an intense posture. We're not going to stay here for too long. So if you've come out, maybe you want to have another little go into it. And then slowly ease your way up the way you came in. Really nice. Take the hands down to your tabletop position. Then bring the knees to the edge of the mat, think toes to touch, and just find your way into your child's pose. So nice, gentle forward bend after all that back bending. You might want to bring something under the third eye if your head feels a little bit far away from the mat, maybe underneath the heels. Just take a moment to pause here. So in stillness, we have to bear to be with ourselves. It can be really confronting. And our yin practice is a great way of practicing on the mat what we're going through in our lives right now, or for many of us anyway. It can show us on the mat what we truly need, but sometimes it goes against what you're currently living through. So you might be living a way that you thought was the right way, and actually, deep down, in that heart-centered space, in that place of connection, that something different is required, something that might go against how things currently are. We have this time right now, this liminal moment to be still, to understand what makes us vibrant, what makes you you. Liminality, it's beyond the thinking mind, it's hard to understand without experiencing it, but it's where pure awareness arises. It's where our intuition comes from. So those moments where you have those kind of aha moments on the mat, maybe at the end of your practice, something becomes clear, you have that clarity, that focus, that wisdom, that all arises from that connection to self, through that stillness, through that spaciousness. So we can use this time of liminality, to really understand what makes us tick. That karma action, that karma yoga, right action. All right, when you're ready, you're just going to find your way onto your sit bones. If you want to use a block, we're going to come into our butterfly pose. So quite like to use a block. It just helps me get into the pose better. If you're quite open, you don't have to use a block. You could roll up your mat as well or use a blanket. But don't sit the whole one, just the very edge of the sit bones. And then bring the feet together into a diamond shape. This is where you might want another rock. bolster, maybe on the mat, maybe underneath the head. So you choose what you need. Tune into your authentic self. Just allow the head to be heavy. Completely surrender, just opening those outer hips. So maybe just take a scan of the body and just notice if there's anywhere that you might just be holding on to some tension. See if you can soften into it. Completely relax the body. Just letting go. This moment in time is a great opportunity for us to slow down, for us to stop, for us to be still. It's a huge challenge as well. We're confronted by so much. But just see if you can open up to the experience rather than turn away. Take this time, this moment in history, to understand, what can I do? What can I offer? What can I do to be of service to others? How can I be authentic? What's my right action? You know, and through this period of isolation, you can think of it as the greatest lesson that we have had in so long, to pause, to reflect, before we come into the rebirth, the next chapter. When we do come into that next chapter, hopefully we're going to come to it with an ability to not only serve ourselves, but all living beings, to come at life from a much more compassionate, kind, and supportive place. Let's have 3 more breaths here. And start just to stack the spine back on top of each other. Be really gentle, be kind. When you're back upright, just take the hands outside the knees, just bring the knees in together, soles of the feet down. Just slowly release yourself down to the floor. Just take a moment in your Shavasana. We're going to do a couple more poses before we finally come into Shavasana, but just take a moment to reset here. We're going to come into one final forward bend. So options, as always, you can come into caterpillar.
Maybe you see if you can come into caterpillar tonight, feet over the head. Come onto the shoulders, just make sure you don't move your head or your neck. If your feet touch the floor, the hands can come down to the floor. If your feet aren't on the floor, just take the hands to the lower back, just support your back. Then soften the knees. If that's too much for you, you can come into your forward fold, just coming back up to seated. And just allow everything to be heavy. Just folding forwards over the legs. You choose what you need. And just make sure the breath is slow and steady. Hopefully no need to control it, but just noticing if maybe it's got a little bit caught, if you've gone into something that feels a little bit unusual for your body. Just try to keep that focus in the mind on the breath. Just going to have 5 more breaths here, so maybe even you want to just try caterpillar for 5 breaths. Maybe you can stay with it in stillness. Maybe with each exhale, you're just letting go of a little bit more tension, a little bit more anxiety, stress, anything that you've been holding on to this week. Very gently, no rush, just start to ease yourself down into your back. You're going to do one final twist. If you want to get your comfy clothes on, your warm clothes now, you're ready just to come straight into Shavasana, feel free to do that. You can meet us in the twist. So from your back, just give yourself a little hug, a little squeeze, knees into the chest, maybe a little rock from side to side. And having the knees hip distance, hip level with the hips, take the knees over to the right. Nice and easy twist. Cactus the arm, and then take the gaze opposite to the knees. Make sure the shoulders are really anchored into the floor. If your shoulders are lifted up, then you only need to lift your knees up and just take a prop underneath those knees. Just take a moment here, let everything sink down into the floor. And very gently ease yourself back to center. Let's swap sides. The knees level with the hips, and then take the knees over to the other side. And you can just use your hand just to provide a little bit of weight on the thighs, as long as you're not gripping too much. And slowly start to bring yourself back to center. Give yourself one last hug. Take a breath in through the nose. And then exhale, gently release. Bring yourself down to your Shavasana. Any blankets, eye pillows, anything you need to get nice and comfy. Just allow yourself just to drift deeper into that stillness. I'll bring you out when it's time, so no need to worry.
Slowly start to bring the awareness back into the space that you're in, back onto the mat and back into the body. Just take one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. Just take a few gentle breaths into the belly, into the heart. Maybe letting it sigh out on the exhale. I'm just going to end with a quote from Steve Jobs. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking until you find it. Don't settle. Just take a moment there. If you need to take any stretches, feel free to do that. And then when you're ready, just meet on your left side. Just take a moment to reflect on the practice here, how you're feeling. Whether anything shifted, whether any magic arose during your practice. Any understanding. And start to bring yourself up to seated when you're ready. Just keep the eyes closed. Let's finish with one round of Om, just as we did at the start. So we have the AUM, the Om, and then we have the silence. So as we did at the beginning, we'll take a breath in, we'll sigh it out. We'll take a breath in, and then we'll do our Om to close. So let's take a nice, soft, gentle belly breath in through the nose. Fill up the lungs. Exhale, just letting it all go. Inhale through the belly. Take the hands to the heart center. Breath onto the third eye. For peaceful thoughts, mouth for peaceful words, and then the heart for a peaceful heart, peaceful actions. Namaste, everybody. Thank you for practicing. Thank you. I hope that was helpful. I hope you feel okay.